didn't get a chance to finish the last one.
Yeah, well, that's okay. You're making a lot of, I mean, we've made a lot of progress, which is, as you know, it's always amazing. It's always amazing when progress is made, considering how terrible, how hard it feels to when you're in the worst of it. It feels impossible to escape. So, you know, just the fact that there is a relief is miraculous, right?
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've been thinking a lot, like what is the goal? Like, what is my goal here? You know? Like, I feel like, because it's not just to end binging and purging, and it's not necessarily just to not diet anymore. Like, I feel like there's a bigger goal here that I'm not grasping. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, the hard part of this type of recovery is how are you to know what recovery is when you've never done it and you don't have a sense of what it feels like? Like, it's a totally different way of being. So if you have an idea of what the goal is, it's coming from your current level of awareness. Like, it's kind of hard to have an awareness around a goal that you don't have the awareness to understand yet. You know, a goal is formulated from the space that you're currently in, from the way you think, from what would, usually it's a very biased goal. It's kind of like vision boards. Usually a vision board is created out of feeling a deficit and putting what would fulfill the deficit or fill the void, right? So it's a compensation for some negative with a positive, right?
Yeah.
So in this case, clearly your goal was to relieve the obsession. We've talked about this in one of our earlier sessions, is you don't want it to be important. The importance needs to be removed of body image. The relief from always having to think about food, always having to wonder what's in the food, always having to worry, body checking, the perpetual, like all of your focus being on your size, weight, being on proving yourself, right? So it's relieving suffering is the goal. The problem, I think, maybe what you're feeling is like, well, if I'm relieved, then what am I going to? What am I entering into? Like, where's the next? And don't you agree the goal is that you don't replace one excessive focus with another excessive focus?
Yeah, I find myself like internally looking for that. It feels like a clenched fist, like that feeling. Like I find myself looking for that.
Like I need to survive. I need a new way to survive.
Yeah, well, I'm like, it's not there anymore. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you gotta not. Do you want the clenched fist? I mean,
no, I don't. I didn't realize how much you know what I mean? Was like, okay, I'm still So I'm like, I feel like I'm just kind of doggy paddling, kind of trying to like, okay, what's.
Well, my goal is that you stop doggy paddling. You shouldn't even be you should just be floating on your back, just enjoying the wave as it comes to you. Oh, look, wow, there's a wave. I didn't know that was coming. Oh.
I said floating earlier today to myself when I was thinking about it. Yeah, and I was like, well, that doesn't sound hard enough.
Well, that's the ego, right? The ego. That tells me that you might have gotten some sense of value from the difficulty of the challenge. Like, there's something you got out of difficulty.
Yeah.
Like, if it's not hard, you're not earning anything. So it's like, it's kind of like how some people create drama, because with drama, they think that it's improving the relationship. Just hear that through drama, the relationship will improve.
Yeah, no.
Does that sound right?
No.
Isn't it? Relationship is just, it's kind of like, you know, it's like thinking the apple will be a better taste if there's rot in it. The rot improves the taste of the not rotten. So if I taste rot, it makes me appreciate what's not rotten.
No. Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
So there might be a belief that you have still in there that when someone works really hard, that there is a reward. And so you might be feeling the loss of the euphoric or narcotic response to the illusion of the reward. You didn't even get your reward with what you were doing, but the illusion of attaining something, there was a sense of contribution or purpose, which is really fucking funny, because how is your thin supremacy and eating disorder contributing to anything?
Right. Bless you.
Thank you.
Gesundheit.
Yeah. I'm sitting outside and I think there's some blooms.
You keep trying to sit outside.
No, I know. Well, I'm hoping it's early enough that a bunch of people working in the yard don't show up. It happened to me again yesterday with another client. I was just like, this is amazing how it works. So anyways, it's pretty calm and serene right now. I'll take it. So yeah, I mean, that is something that's taught culturally, like you have to earn it, which is great. There's some truth to that, but should you really have to be clenched so tight in extremism and radicalism around work ethic, or being valued through some type of extremism to get a reward? You can't we just live in reality and be rewarded with highs and lows? I mean, can't that all be neutral to some degree?
Yeah.
I mean, there's downsides.
Well, especially for food. I mean, that's just a basic of life. It shouldn't have to be that.
Yeah, difficult. Well, so when we get rid of also the food part of it, there is a sense of ease and maybe even boredom. But boredom is very passive victim position around life was supposed to entertain me, and at least I had entertainment in my obsessive compulsive depression. At least there was a story to tell people about how terrible my childhood was. It's like I liked my negative outlook on life and how insane I had to be to create a neutral view of life with my eating disorder. And I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but that's common.
Right. That was because I went through the eating disorder clinic a long time ago, and I remember the patients there would be like, well, if this person hadn't told me I needed to lose weight, then I wouldn't have done this. And I'm like, you have to just own it, otherwise you'll never get better.
Yeah, you're right. You have to own that you're the one who wanted what they were selling, and you signed up for it. So sure, and there's
you didn't ask for someone to victimize you, but you have to own what you can, because otherwise you can't get better.
Even if it's embarrassing, it's like the willingness to admit it is a form of superiority. It is a form of separating myself and trying to create some sense of specialness to who I am.
I have to ask this. I know you're recording this, but I have to ask this. So I know you have a degree. It's exercise something.
Science, yeah. It's like the physiology, the cell biology, and the science of the human body in physical activity.
Do you also have like a philosophy degree?
Nope.
Or that's somewhere in there?
Nothing.
Okay. All right.
School of Hard Knocks. I have my recovery.
Okay.
Right, but I don't even have that because it was handed to me. I swear to God. So I think I have a heart to help others. That's what I have.
Yeah, no,
I do
definitely.
feel like I have some sense of
talking, like she knows she's talking way past what I can understand right now. Like I need to think really hard.
No, and you should tell me those things when you don't understand it. Because I have to be. I have to be able to communicate, and that I think is the hardest part of what I'm doing. Is I may have a sense of where you're coming from, but I don't necessarily have the language ability to explain it.
Right, because we all have different angles on our language and whatnot. And
totally.
Yeah, and I think you do a good job. I think you do a great job, actually. I'm like, wait a minute, slow down, I gotta think.
Mhm. No, I get that. I get that, and sometimes I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. Where I'm thinking something, and I'm like, I don't know where that came from or how that. I didn't even understand what I said, and it's okay too. You know. So, because I'm okay being wrong, I could be wrong. You know,
Right.
but you're in a position to where my wrong might be better than yours at this point. At least they're in terms of wrongness. This wrong is alleviating that wrong for the moment. So, hey, you know, that's the risk you take when you reach for help. Even when you were going to an eating disorder clinic, you know, that type of money, that type of, you know, guidance is huge investment, you know, especially if they're telling you what you can and cannot eat and how to eat and that it's a food issue. You're spending a lot of money to continue to do what you do on your own in a different way, you know. And those are people who have all sorts of degrees and studies and, you know, so it's, what are you paying for? You paying for someone to tell you what to do, or are you paying to be told what you need to do to surrender? You know what I mean? It's like, what are you looking for? Some people just want more rules because they don't want to surrender their story. They get a sense of specialness by the drama. That's something too. I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but some people really feel special because their story is so bad, to the point where they are competing in whose story is worse than whose. They want the worst story because it gives them a sense of specialness and separation. Superiority. It's a real twisted way to feel superior. I'm superior to you. My pain is superior to yours. People do that listening to these YouTube videos. Well, Robin doesn't know how bad my story is. You know?
Yeah.
Because my story is so bad, it's unfixable. Well, that means you don't want it to be fixed. You know,
it's true.
You know, when you're ready for.
Well, and it's painful to go through it to get fixed too. But I've met, or not necessarily met firsthand, but seen speakers and this and that, and just their stories and their lives of horrifying, like horrificness, and they're amazing people that you just want to be around all the time because they're not in that anymore. But once you hear their story, it's like wow, that's amazing what they did.
And some people will change their story so that they, in their mind, and catastrophize it so that they have so that if they are, it makes them unhelpable. So even if you are miserable in a horribly dark place, you'd rather keep the story and take some type of drug, or antidepressant, or just keep on going to the next therapist so you can keep on telling the same sob story to feel bad about yourself. So when you get to recovery, the willingness to surrender the story sometimes is the hardest part. It's like with you and your parents. It's like you'd have to change the whole story. You can't change them. You can't change how they did things, but you'd have to change how you positioned yourself to protect one parent. Again, that victim, persecutor, rescuer triangle, the Karpman's, Karpmans, Karpman drama triangle. I'm going to write about this in my next Weight Loss Apocalypse book around the codependency and the need to protect and rescue someone, and also the perception of being persecuted. Every person I work with has a codependent relationship. That's it, or we're raised in codependency, which is why they mimic the same relationship with the body in the diet and food. It's almost like your own little drama triangle that doesn't include people. It's your body that you've created, a persecutor. Food is also the persecutor. Thinnerness will be the rescue. The diet is the rescuer to that solution. Life is horrible, so therefore I need the food. So the diet becomes your persecutor, and you're going to get your food for this moment. It's just how that works. So you can look at, even your recovery process and how you surrender all of this, and then look at the underlying issue around how you related to your own tribe and how dysfunctional that was. It's like, well, no wonder you went this direction. You were attracted to the same type of dysfunction. You're a victim of your body. You need to lose weight, and when you do, you'll feel so much better about it. We have what you need, you know. You could look at that and go, holy shit, no wonder. And it's so innocent that I would make that transfer.
Right. Yeah.
And it was innocent that where I was in terms of how I related to my dad, and innocent in terms of how I was positioned with my mom. You know, there's so much innocence in a child who is put in that position. And it's innocent that your parents put you in that position. Did they really know what they were doing when there was divorce abuse going on? They're not divorced, are they?
No.
Yeah, but there is relationship abuse going on.
Yeah.
That might as well have been divorce abuse. But anyways, so yeah, I mean, surrendering that really leaves you with, it's boring. It's, what's the goal? What am I doing? You know, there is this nothingness around recovery that is, on one hand, so relieving, God sent, a miracle.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, there is this space of like, well, what do I do? What's next? The beauty of that space is that you either can choose to repeat your history by becoming passive again and letting the drama passively become an issue, or you become proactive around creation. You are now the creator of life. I get to create, and there is no one I have to go to for permission. I don't need anybody's approval. I get to now start the creative process which is so inherent to human quality. Human beings, similar to other mammals, we kind of have our uniqueness. You know, a dog is unique in their incredible degree of love and loyalty and how they are as pack animals. And we have an incredible gift of creativity, exploration, the willingness to take risk, you know, and that's where you're at now.
Yeah, I think so.
So you get to decide what's next. And does it need to be, I have to keep on improving myself?
No, it's not going to be.
Well, does it make sense to keep on saying, I have to improve myself? Does it make sense to do that when, no matter what you think you need to improve upon, okay, this might be over your head or not. I'm going to try to communicate it.
Okay.
But the way of being you're at is what creates the goal. So is the goal really improving upon yourself if it's created from your current state of awareness?
No.
It's basically the same thing. You're just
it's
using,
like a lateral move, right?
It is a lateral move, and often when you create the goal, you have this weird perception that it's going to be an elevation. Like, I'm elevating myself. And so there is the mirage of betterment and reward. And so you do all this work, you attain the goal, and you feel no different. In fact, there is a feeling of, I didn't get what I thought I was going to get by getting a degree. There's a sense of accomplishment, but I'm not necessarily feeling like I'm a different person. There's no difference in who I am before, although I'm not as ignorant. I have discernment around where there's ignorance. There's a lot of benefit. I'm using college as an example. But you're the same. There is a similar personality that there. It's not like you're improving upon who you are. You are who you are. I don't know if there's really any real progress or change to that from birth to death. It's just there's change in your awareness. You know?
Yeah.
What you're aware of changes. But is your personality really different than what it was authentically as a child?
Yeah, no.
You may eliminate codependency, eliminate drama, be more forgiving, but those are states of awareness. That's consciousness. Those are people's awareness levels. Like, there is an awareness that if I am judgmental, there is a downside to, oh my God, someone is here, and I'm really going to be shocked if they start doing yard work or removing concrete from the sidewalk over there. I'm going to laugh. So I'm actually writing about this right now in this chapter about the drama triangle. That when we create expectations, you're creating the expectation based on your bias or what you think you are lacking. So expectation for many people comes from a perception of lacking. And so when you have an expectation and then reality occurs, which is going to happen regardless of our expectations, right? We eliminate all expectation. Reality is what it is. Whether it's coworkers not doing their job, you having to deal with a kid that gets sick and having to go to the doctor. There's think of all the varieties of ways in life where reality is not identical to your expectations.
Right.
And even marriage or kids, what do we expect? Well, it's coming from a predetermined idea based on what would benefit you. And it only is a benefit if you feel lack, right?
Yeah.
Well, and in terms of, we could say, well, there's literal benefit. Let's just say if I can reduce my mortgage, of course, that would reduce strain, financial strain. But the need of it is what we're talking about in terms of lack. If I am lacking, that means the need to remove the lack is going to occur just out of our own primal survival mechanisms, right? So the more someone is lacking, the more intense their expectations or needs become. And what that intensity does is it removes lenience or grace around the outcome. So when reality manifests, when reality unfolds, and there is difference between what you expected and what you're experiencing, when someone has a need that creates an expectation that is strict, they are less lenient, they are less gracious or forgiving of reality. And that positions you to feel like your expectation is not being met, and then reality is now your persecutor. Reality is hurting me because I needed this expectation.
Yeah. I can understand that. Mm-hmm.
So when you set a goal, so that was the point. What was the point of that whole spiel? The point was that when you set a goal, you really need to step back and ask the question, how much do I need this goal? And where is the need coming from? Versus it would be nice to have this house, to get the house, to buy the house. It would be nice to, have my kids go to bed at the right time. That would be great. That's different than I need them to go to bed. There is a personal void that you're using your children going to bed to fulfill. So there's a dependency on your kids' perfection. And if your children aren't developmentally there yet, you're going to be persecuted by them and treating them as if they have done you harm. You become the victim martyr that your children have to support, and their cognitive ability may be so much less than where it should be for them to hold on to that position. That essentially, don't you agree, is what happened to you with your parents? Remember I talked to you about emotional incest?
Yeah.
So your mom or your dad, there might have been a little bit of that reliance on you emotionally to maybe keep the marriage, like you were the glue to keeping them together somehow. And you had to create the buffer between your mom's issues, right? And your dad's sanity.
Kind of.
Well, you know the story better than I do. I'm just trying to go off of recall.
Right. There is definitely there's definitely a division. And it was kind of like,
Well, you took your dad's side, so you were positioned to take sides.
I felt like he was supporting me, because he never took any side except for hers. Except for if she wasn't around, then I could explain to him, okay, this is insanity what she's doing, and he would say yes or no or You know, it was like he was trying to help me navigate. Yeah. But it's like I felt like he was trying to help me navigate without her actually ever getting none of her, addressed.
Yeah. So how much, if we were to just focus on you can't change your parents, you can't change your mom. How much of your response to your mom came from the illusion of some expectation around how mom should be?
Yeah.
What mom should be like?
So now, what was your question exactly? The first part?
I asked how much of your, I just want you to observe. I'm asking you to be the observer, to actually go into this and observe it. So through the question, I'm asking you just to be open to observation. Okay? When you look at your childhood and how you related to your mother, how much strain occurred because you had expectations of what a true mother should be like, and then it created a more sensitive response to your mom's issues. I'm not saying she didn't have issues.
Right.
I'm saying how much of this was your catastrophizing of her issues because you created, mom should be this way. She's so fucked up. She shouldn't be like that. Look at these. That's a good mom. I'm going to be different than her.
I would say, well, definitely as I got older. When the events happened at the time when I was younger, I didn't really have that kind of forethought. I was just like, what are you doing? But as I got older, I'd be like, oh, okay, here she goes.
Got it.
Yeah, I definitely, And then when I was like in my early 20s and whatnot, kind of living in and out of the house, depending on the situation, definitely, in there. And now, it's more, whatever. I mean, it is what it is.
That's a good place to be because you're not trying to change her and you're not responding to her issues anymore. She was a perpetual martyr, right?
Yeah. And, and I thought,
I actually have friends like that. I keep them at a distance.
Yeah.
I know I do. I don't know.
Yeah. You can't say anything.
No, but they feel the way they do feel.
It's very intense.
So there's compassion for their intense feelings, but I separate myself from their drama, right? I don't bite on I don't feel sorry for them. That's the thing. I'm like, I do not feel sorry for you only because this is your story that you want and you're grasping it for some reason. And I do have compassion for how miserable you are. But I don't feel sorry for you. Do you see that there's a difference?
Yeah, oh, definitely.
It's like having compassion to say, based on their thoughts and what they think that their thoughts are, by believing those thoughts, they are a victim. And it does suck, that feeling of powerlessness and hopelessness to whatever it is that's happening to you, even if it's all made up in your head because you're paranoid out of your own narcissistic need to feel, the center of this attention in the family or in your work environment or whatever the environment is with your spouse. That drama, it feels real to the person who's creating it. That's why they respond to it. That's why your mom responded to it. It was real for her.
Well, and if I don't respond to that, then she gets really personal and attacks me directly. But this is never said verbally. It's all through a text. Like, she never verbally. And so it's really easy for me to navigate that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because you just don't respond.
Right.
Or you just say, "Oh, I'm sorry. That sucks." You just don't.
Yeah, I'm
participate.
Sorry you feel that way. Maybe we can talk later, or I'm sorry you feel that way, right? And that's where it ends. It's just I find it interesting. Like, she turns it up. You know what I mean? Because she's trying to get a reaction.
Yeah, well, she wants to feel that you care about her, and if you care about the relationship, you will care as equally as she does, right?
Yeah. I would love for you to talk a little bit about just like really like the physical changes that happen. Because remember I texted you or I sent you an email?
Oh yeah. Yeah, like, because you're having afternoon lethargy, right? Lethargy.
Well, okay. Also, no. This is like, okay. It feels like, okay. It's getting better today. But it's felt like the flu minus a temperature minus vomiting, but all the aches, all the pains.
Ooh, nausea.
Sweating. There's nausea, but I'm not throwing up at all, and I'm sweating all through the night. But I don't have a temperature, like, and it's starting to get better. But I'm like, I feel like.
Yeah, it could be thyroid.
I don't know.
It could be your organs responding.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't over dramatize it. Again, don't catastrophize it quite yet. Just stick with it.
Okay.
Attend to it, but don't become like, I have to figure this out, because that's not. Do you really want to figure it out? Is that what you want to do?
I don't know. I just wanted to know that like it would go away and that.
Well, why don't we go into so that we lessen the need? Okay. What if this is permanent? What if this is a permanent consequence of all of the starving you did for decades and binging, and let's not forget all the esophageal vomiting you did. Let's just to say that this is a consequence. Similar to someone who smokes, okay? They are for decades. They can't just quit and expect themselves to feel better physically. They may still have asthma. They may still have post-nasal drip. They may still have mouth sores. They may still have, coughing issues that may take years to recover from.
True.
Okay, so let's just imagine that you've been binging and purging for decades. How that might impact your adrenals, your thyroid, your stress, cortisol levels, all that stuff, your menstrual cycle.
That stuff will just kind of adjust eventually,
yeah, right? As you quit, your body will recover.
Okay. I think so
too. So if it doesn't, are you willing to accept this consequence? Because damage has been done. If the damage is done, it's done, and you have to just get over it. And as you give it time, over time, as you realize this might not get better, maybe then you go get your hormones tested and you go from there.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, give your body an adequate environment to recover. So do your part to improve your awareness, your conscious level, so that stress becomes non-existent or manageable, which means it's non-existent stress. Because if something's manageable, what happens to your stress?
Yeah, it's not really
stress
there
anymore. Yeah, it's because you're managing reality. You're living in reality.
Yeah.
So that takes letting go of all the fantasy shit that creates perfectionism. Living in your recovery basically is like getting to know type B personality, because that's what recovered people feel like. Type B. The type A you are relieved of, because that is not something that feels good.
Yeah.
So there is that, and allowing the body time to adjust. So, and part of that adjustment is your menstrual cycle.
Yeah.
If you didn't have a menstrual cycle, the body wouldn't be turning while we're trying to stabilize. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So don't and the one funny thing, it is funny to me. It may not be funny to you, but it's funny to me. When people recover from eating disorders, everything's about the food. Oh my God, I have a temperature. It must be the food that I'm eating.
Well, you don't even know like how many years I spent like, oh, it's because I'm sensitive to this. That's why my stomach hurts.
Yeah, well, you go online and there's plenty of religious zealots out there willing to sell you their scriptures on the diet you should do, because that's what this is. Change your food. Food is everything.
Yeah.
Food is everything.
It can't be though.
I know. It's just so funny.
No.
It's so cute. So cute.
I know. I think it's just it was like an automatic response. You know what I mean?
It's no different than a religious zealot saying, well, you didn't pay your tithes and this is what God's way of punishing you. Like, oh, I should go back to church and maybe things will get better. It's so cute. God. That is really cute. You didn't pray enough. Maybe that's why my children are having a hard time. I need to pray harder. Okay. That's really sweet.
Yeah.
So to go directly to blame food and believe your thoughts about it, especially when you know how fucked up your thoughts have been about it, and the whole approach to food has been, can you really rely on it's the food?
No.
I know. Think of all the things you've eliminated from potential cause, like you're purging. Never mind chronic puking, forcing the body to do that, and how that impacts your gut and how that impacts your adrenals. Never mind that. That can't be the problem. And then I started, and that when I emailed you back, I was like, could be when you're drinking coffee, how much coffee you're drinking. It could be how much sleep you're getting. It could be activity levels. There's so much that this could be. Why does it have to be do you really want to have to think about?
Oh, for the tiredness part. Right.
Yes.
For the tiredness part. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, if you have a virus that's your body's fighting with those hot flashes, that could be what it is.
Yeah, the tiredness thing has been like for years and years. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Never attributing it to starving yourself.
I don't know. 'Cause
you're right. We don't know. So you kind of need to just back yourself out from trying to be the gatekeeper of your food and allow yourself to be quote unquote normal. Give the body what a normal person. So I know when I say normal, it's like, okay, normal people are messed up in many ways, but we're talking about someone that doesn't have problems. Okay. Which is nobody. So when you perceive someone that is relaxed and balanced, let's just say that. Balanced without extremism balancing. Because there are people who are balanced who are freaking nuts. I'm talking about balance within an easy realm. Do that for a while and see how you feel in a month from now. Give your body a break from being, there's something wrong with it.
I know. Yeah.
Maybe the illusion of chronic pepped up energy is what you're mistaking. Maybe there is a degree of tiredness the body carries with it. I'm feeling tired right now. Even this conversation, my eyes are getting heavy.
I really hate being tired. I think that's...
Yeah, well, you know what I have to say? Your kids are how old?
10, 6, 3, and 1.
Oh, so maybe that's the issue. Maybe it's not the food. It could be the 6, because 10 years old is easy. 3 and 1. Maybe it's having babies that are really physically, there's a lot of physical labor that goes into just having a 1-year-old. And you know as well as I do, a 3-year-old is just as laborious. And the amount of physical work, I always tell people, child rearing is physically taxing. I was exhausted too. Sleeping isn't always good. You're constantly having to have your eye. Just having to watch your kids is exhausting.
I told my 10-year-old just the other day, I said, I had one good night's sleep about 5 years ago.
oh, but it's the food that's why you're tired right now. Food, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I know. The diet industry just makes people so dumb. It's so cute. Right?
Yeah.
So, it's really exhausting. And maybe this is part of you just accepting that this is really tiring. It's not that my body's got something wrong with it. It's just that this is legitimately exhausting.
That's true.
It is. Oh, my God. It's like, I just remember the feeling, too, of First of all, always carrying a baby around in a car seat. The car seat situation, just to get in your car, you have to lug car seats around, get them stuck in. The amount of work it takes just to prepare to go somewhere. The level of work it takes just to go grocery shopping. I mean, it is like carrying around a circus and juggling at all times while you're trying to. That's so depleting, and it is tiring, and it's such a beautiful thing. Enjoy this. Enjoy what you're doing right now, because it goes away very quickly. And you get into when it's emotionally exhausting. I have teenagers now, right? Like I was where you were at with 3 kids. I had a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 5-year-old. You know, they're 18 to 24 months, 22 months apart. It is so tiring. Now I'm not physically tired. I have dogs that are more tiring. Like I was up last night because this dog that I'm caring for is an ear infection, and she just scratched her ear all night. It kept me up all flipping night. So my dogs are more tiring than my food. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's a good point.
No. Notice all the stuff you're not looking at.
I know. Yeah.
What if this is part of this stage in your motherhood? They should just call the from newborn, which isn't even that hard. It's really when they become toddlers that it is just freaking exhausting. Right? So,
yeah, as long as they sleep okay, but yeah.
But even then it's still physically exhausting.
Yeah.
Constantly having to keep your eye always, and you can't turn it off.
No. Yeah.
Just not only that, but cleaning up. I mean, I got to the point where I was just like, I can't do this. So my standards of cleanliness are about to go down, because if I keep my standards elevated, I end up resenting my children. I start to put myself in the victim role.
Right. Is it my?
Well, yeah, because you have to really think: is it your children who are persecuting you, or is it the standard that you're holding your kids to that they're not old enough to even meet that's persecuting you?
Yeah.
Did that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, that totally makes sense.
It's your cleanliness standards. I learned that with kids. I was like, I have to lower my standards because my children are not old enough to do this. They're not. I can pretend. I can sit there and constantly hound them, but is that how I want to relate to my kids, as their slave master to clean the toys?
Right. No.
And there is some degree of boundaries, like you need to clean up. Of course, I'm going to teach them how to do that. However, when I put them to bed at night, do I really want to spend my whole evening picking up fucking toys?
Right.
You know, when I still have the kitchen to clean. Which one would I rather? Picked up toys or a clean kitchen? You know, so the standard goes down. Some of that might be what you have to do as well, is there's this balance between teaching your kids what needs to be done, giving them the grace of their developmental stage, and adjusting your standards that you're trying to meet. Right? I had one client who had similar, standard issues. This was her issue, is she held herself to such high standards that for example, having people over, she would have to use she wanted the perception of perfection and cleanliness, that she really wanted people to think she was superior around how perfect her house was. So it's that symbolic I'm such a wonderful person was being expressed through her perfect clothes, her perfect thinness, her perfect clean house. And so she was having to clean the baseboards with a toothbrush. Right? And it wasn't OCD. She didn't have to do it every day, but whenever she had people over, she had to create the same perfectness, because if the next time they came over, it wasn't as perfect, they would know she wasn't perfect. So she kind of backed herself into a corner around this cleanliness ideology in her own ideals of superiority. So it kind of forced her to have to do it every time. She was really pissed about it.
That's funny.
I was like, well, you just need to come out of the closet as a normal person. Like, leave your office looking like shit. Like, don't clean your office. Oh my God. I was like, shut the door. she didn't have this like lenience that we're talking about. And sometimes it's either you enforce your issues onto other people and abuse other people unconsciously. You're not consciously thinking, I'm going to abuse people. But you're essentially doing that so that they will help you meet your fucked up high standard that's unrealistic, that you're not managing very well, right?
Yeah.
Or you adjust on both sides. You make an adjustment. Lower your standards and be more disciplined in what you expect. I try to, there's a balance between the two, right? So I have my 14-year-old son who is all about his friends. It's very hard. It's heartbreaking because he does not want to hang out with me.
Oh.
He's like, what happened to my baby? Anyway, so easy to become the victim in this. He doesn't love me, and I'm supposed to be so important. So yesterday, he was like, Mom, I need to go down the hill. I was like, what? First off, I wanted to be like, you don't want to hang out with me? And then I was like, well, did you get your chores done? And he was like, oh. He was so, disappointed because he had to mow the lawn.
Ooh, that's a big one.
I know, that is a big one because it was 95 degrees out too. So that was a moment where I was strict around the expectation. Only because you have to do a certain level of... I have to get him ready for reality, which is you don't play hard and then think about work later. No, you get your shit done and then you get to relax. So I had to teach him that. It's kind of... There was some pleasure in watching him mow the lawn in that heat. But so that's something so look at your own parenting and look at how stressful it is around your own personal expectations of living and how the drama of 4 kids really makes that hard.
Yeah, I feel like I'm doing a lot more accepting of my life. My life has revolved around the kids for a while, but it just really, they're really intense right now, and that's okay. They're little. There's a few of them. I mean, that's just how it is. It's all right.
Yeah, and you might not get any energy back until they become more dependent on themselves.
Yeah.
You have 4 human beings, 3 real young ones, who are they leeches just sucking on you.
They're so cute.
It is. It's amazing. I'm like,
they're not going to be like that forever. They're not.
No, you have probably a good 5 years. Well, once they're 4 and 5, when they're more independent, they're not just going to...
They have their moments. It's not the same.
No, it's not the same energy. It isn't. They are more they're more independent. They depend on themselves a little bit more, and then the stress changes a little bit more to pedophiles, shit like that.
True.
I know. It's like we torture ourselves as moms. It's so ridiculous.
Well, we've got a job to do. Important.
Right. So, anyways, not that we're talking about eating disorder stuff.
Well, stress can be a trigger and whatnot. So.
Well, can I handle it? That is the question when it comes to stress. Is what reality is presenting. It's presenting it whether you like it or not. So the question is, can I handle it? And am I going to handle it whether I feel like I can or not?
With me not feeling really good. And then my husband, he's out of town for work for a few weeks. And that's why I was like, but exactly. Like just accepting, okay, I'm just gonna have to work with what I've got,
Yeah.
what I can do.
Yeah. I remember being pregnant with Wyatt, and Chloe, who's my oldest, was like barely a year old. And laying on the couch, you know how you're so tired when you're pregnant?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's amazing. And just falling asleep while this little 1-year-old toddler's walking around the house.
Yeah, just try to childproof as best as you can.
Yeah, and I just couldn't keep my eyes open. Like, I can't keep my eyes open. And realizing I just have to call on angels right in this moment.
Yeah.
That I will wake up if there is an issue. But yeah, I'll put a baby gate here and put these toys out here and some crackers right there, and I accept the chaos. So there's some of that you're gonna have to be okay with.
Yeah.
It's amazing though, again, it's like when you suffer from the indoctrination of dieting, it's amazing how quickly people blame everything on food. Everything.
Yeah.
You've been kind of conditioned to always be fearful of food. Always fear food. Always. Food is always something that's like the bear around the corner. You know? It's big business. It's big.
I really believed in all those sensitivities and all of that too. And so it's like choosing not to accept that is different too.
Well, you never questioned that the fear mongering that they're doing is actually creating a physical environment that makes you more sensitive to food.
Right.
Never question that what they're doing by saying food is dangerous, that's, again, activating the most primal survival mechanism. That maybe what they're doing by fearing food is actually creating your sensitive response to it all, especially because you're afraid of that food. That food is dangerous. Go into that primal hierarchy of need. The foundation of your psychological well-being is the confidence that you have food, you have enough food, that you can get more food, and that food is safe. Those are basic fundamental survival needs to surviving, to life. So when some company comes out and says, that is dangerous, your whole brain becomes incredibly inflamed. It's supposed to do that. It's not like there's something wrong with that. It's supposed to do that. When there is go back centuries, thousands of years ago, I heard that there was a berry from a bush that killed this woman's child. How important it would be that you find out what the berry looks like, what the leaves look like, where it's located. You tell everybody, right? That's primal survival fear mongering, right?
Mm-hmm.
No one's questioning the psychological fitness of the person who's doing the fear mongering because they put it in a book. You know? Because they must be a doctor. They must just know because it's an intelligent thing. Well, what if this is an emotional problem? Someone can be highly intelligent with psychological problems and they're going to tell you sugar's addictive. That doesn't... No.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that there's science and stuff that back a lot of things too, and so it gets confusing.
Well, yeah, because you're not questioning the validity of the science. Is it conclusive science? You don't question that because you're not a scientist. You're just your ignorance is being abused by people who have mental problems. For reals. Like, no one's questioning the state of the mind of the people who claim to be addicted to sugar, and they're approaching it with this outdated model, the disease model, which really has been disproven, and they're trying to dismantle it from the system, a recovery system. So the fact that these people are saying that food's addictive is just like, they're just not even up to date around how, people develop a codependency. It's a codependency. That's a better way to say it's an addiction. It's better to say, oh, you developed codependency with sugar. That means that you're participating and you have a lot to do with that relationship you have with sugar.
Yeah.
That means that there is also a belief involved here too that you're holding on to, and there's a self-concept here. And then don't forget the deprivation of that specific thing, how that creates sensitivity to it, especially when it comes down to food, right? And how the brain is wired with food. It's kind of like sex. If you deprive someone of an orgasm, let's just say for 10 years, how sensitive are they going to be to an orgasm? Right? There's a point of diminishing returns where at some point they're going to be highly sensitive. At some point they're not going to be responsive. So, right? But what the issue is abstinence. Right? No one's looking at abstinence. They're looking at the object. They're not looking at the state of the mind. Right? There's so much knowledge out there that's been omitted with the whole concept of addiction.
Yeah,
so no,
that's true.
I mean, I use the terminology of addiction just to describe a connection to something. Like, I have to have something, but that doesn't necessarily describe the codependency of the weakening and the emotionally enabling process of dependency that creates codependency. So all that food stuff, even if there is some slight truth to it, is this something you really want your entire mind focus on?
No.
That's really the question you have to ask yourself. Is this, even if it is true, is this something that you want your whole entire life to be focused on? To make sure. Yeah, right? Like, it just is, people get warped. They get really warped around it. Some of it because of the narcissism in the food religiosity. People love this whole concept of health. Has been so abused through capitalism. This is like the downside. People have capitalized on the illusion of grandeur and this superiority around health. Like, people who are healthy relative to the religion of what you think health is are superior. This attitude of superiority connected to health has major problems.
I agree.
And that's what's thriving off of the illusion of it's that people thrive on that. Now, I'm not saying that food allergies don't exist. I'm just talking about the psychological illness that's promoting it.
Yeah.
There's a promotion of it as if we all should fear this stuff. Not thinking that the promotion of fear is more a contributing factor. They don't question that maybe the fear that I am selling is a bigger contributor to the issue than the actual food alone.
True. Yeah.
Like how the brain and body responds when someone is under fear and inflamed because of fear, directly stemming from the amygdala and the hypothalamic response, and how the pituitary gland reacts to that, and how then your adrenals respond. And clearly food also creates a hormonal reaction when you eat. But what happens when someone is eating in... So the scientists, if you're watching this, do this study. How people respond, how the biology of the endocrine system responds to food being consumed that people fear. They're afraid of this food. So it would be awesome to get a bunch of ortho-anorexics in a room together to eat bad food. to eat food that they believe is terrible for you and to
Right.
see how their body responds to that food. And then to give them food, and they've actually done this. I'm pretty sure I've read a study on it. It was just one, so you can't refer it. There needs to be more, and then give them the same food and tell them it's something totally different that meets their ideology.
Yeah.
They did this actually with these shakes. Okay, so they told them this is just a regular shake. This is a shake. And then they told people, oh, this has got these new supplements in it. And then how people's beliefs about the food changed how their brain responded in the endorphin center of the brain, the narcotic response of the brain. There were significant differences,
Yeah.
So anyways, you're never told that by this industry ever, because what they're doing is actually would be exposed as unhealthy.
Right.
And they would never, it would be like saying to someone who's radicalized in their religion that what they're doing is not spiritual, right? They would be offended. That would be offensive,
Right, because I mean, there's money involved. A lot of them seem well-meaning, but I mean, of course, there's money involved too.
And followers and power, and they truly believe, and they want you to be healthy because they're healthy, and they love their health, and they want you to have the same health, as they judge other people who are not healthy as lazy, and they just don't care, and it's not important to them, and so it should be important to you because it's important to me.
Yeah.
Anyways. So you really need to kind of question those thoughts. Really question if you want to hold on to those thoughts. And if you hold on to those thoughts about what you think is healthy and not healthy, is it worth holding on to the thought? Because if it is worth it, you have to hold on to it.
I don't want to do that.
So I'm willing to hold on to eating to hunger. I hold on to the thought of I will wait till I'm hungry.
Okay. Yeah.
I hold on to that. Because it's so selfishly relieving. It's so easy. I have no work. The body tells me, actually, when to eat. I don't have to tell the body anymore.
Yeah. That's gotten a lot easier.
Yeah, that's what happens when you reduce the stress around your expectations physically, right? That's our first goal. Remove the physical expectation. Get it removed. The goal is that it's removed in all directions. All directions. Not just one direction. All directions.
Right. Yeah.
Fatness, thinness, and everything in between. That it is no longer your business. Now, with clients that I have that are very large and have physical work to do, they have to work. They have to keep, this is the body they're in. They have all the limitations that were created with the body, that they abused. So in your case, do you really, outside of you feeling tired, you feel the tiredness, the exhaustion, whatever it is, that's something that you may need to just accept so that you can continue to relieve yourself of maybe I have a food allergy.
Right. Yeah, I think so. I'm just going to have to accept that for a while.
Well, if you can't, what does that mean in terms of what you have to pay attention to?
Yeah, I have to start paying attention. Yeah, like what I'm eating. Yeah.
There it goes. Now I have to think it's a food problem.
Yeah, I noticed too, there's definite times of the day where I'm not as hungry. And for me, it seems like I've just noticed a pattern, and it could change. around lunchtime or so until about 4. I'm just not that hungry, and I think maybe before, maybe I was eating too much, thinking it would help my energy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So tell me this. So this, in terms of endocrinology, if you were eating before, if that was a prime binge time, and you did it consistently, even if you're not binging, it's for you, it's mindless eating time, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Your body essentially revved, to compensate. So let's just say, the endocrine, let's use your thyroid, for example. It likes to be in a certain range. So if it knows through, I hate to use the word know, because the body, what the body's knowing, however that is, but it's with time, it's conditionable, it's trainable, like a dog, right? You can train your body. So if you've been eating, what the brain will do is it will prepare for that stimulus by reducing the thyroid stimulation. It's amazing. It's like a diurnal thing. It's like relative to the sun and where it comes up and how you've trained the body, you can actually condition the body to create. It's kind of like with coffee. Why is it that when I wake up in the morning, if I don't have coffee, I get a headache? Yeah. I've prepared my brain to function with coffee. So if I don't give it coffee, its balance points are down, and I didn't give it the up that created the neutrality. So when you created that need for food, your body compensated by creating a endocrine response in the opposite direction of what food does. You're going to have to watch this video again and just play that again.
I am.
Okay. Right? So it's like, let me see if I can draw a picture. It's kind of like, if this is where homeostasis is, oh my God, I got to bring it up here. Okay, if this is where homeostasis is, right there, that line. And let's just say food pushes us up to here. That's above homeostasis. That's like more, it's too much. What the body will do is it'll suppress and restrict and change the endocrine system down here in preparation of that stimulus. So you might be sitting down here because the body's waiting for the stimulus and you're not feeding the stimulus anymore. So what will happen eventually is your brain will stop responding that way because you're not giving it the counter effect.
Okay.
Think of it like being on a boat, and how when a wave comes, you may lean a certain way so that you don't tip over. Well, what if you lean in a certain way and the wave doesn't come?
Right, you tip over.
Yeah, and that might be your body saying, well, I'm going to lean because I'm expecting the wave.
Yeah, that could be.
And you're not giving it a wave. So you're kind of having some of the symptoms of that being off balance. That could be it. I don't know, but that could be it. It's kind of like when someone wakes up at the same time all the time.
Yeah.
How the body, even without the alarm clock, just wakes up at that time, even if you don't have a need to get up at that time.
Yeah.
It prepares for the alarm clock. It's like I wake up 2 minutes before the alarm goes off. How did my body know that it was that time?
Right. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Well, that could be it. I'm not saying I'm right. It's just like there's a lot. You just need to ride this out for a little bit.
Yeah, you're right.
And again, look at your whole environment, not just your myopic, eating disorder, trained, brainwashed way of thinking.
True.
I swear, when I hear food mongering, I hear eating disorder. That's what I hear.
Yeah?
I do. With a lot of it. Not everything. But the more intense the fear-mongering of the food, the more intense I think the person who's doing this has an eating disorder.
Yeah.
I always wonder what their real life is like. What's their real life like?
Seriously.
And what type of binge eating disorder do their kids have now?
Right. I know. I was still, bad for the kids.
Right? Exactly. You get my point now. I'm always, you do. It's like, oh, those poor children are being threatened by the chips.
I know. Sorry.
All
think
right. I gotta go.
My kids are ready for me.
Okay, I'm gonna start recording.